Dillian the Body Snatcher White here. It's a champ. Big up to Sporting Icon. Subscribe. Otherwise, I might pay you guys a visit.
So the manager of King Kong, Luis Ortiz, in Jay Jimenez, has said that Luis Ortiz will be very open and would love to fight Dillian Whyte in either January or February. This follows Dillian Whyte mentioning Luis Ortiz's name along with Deontay Wilder as a, let's be honest, as a tune-up, and while he waits for the rematch with Alexander Povetkin. Is it a tune-up? Hey, it's entirely on you, however it is, that's how you want to see it. But the situation with Alexander Povetkin is his proposed rematch with Dillian Whyte for January the 30th doesn't look like that's going to be happening. Well, it's definitely not going to be happening on that date. They want to postpone it a little bit more while Povetkin gets fully over his illness. Okay, whether he's genuine or whether he's not, again, it's entirely on you. But when it comes back to Luis Ortiz, it's a fight that people have been wanting to see for quite some time. It's going to create some interesting questions because Dillian Whyte, he's never fought a southpaw before. Luis Ortiz is southpaw. But at the end of the day, we know that Luis Ortiz can be hurt. We know that he can be knocked out. We know that Dillian Whyte can be knocked out. So it's going to be having some interesting elements to it, that's for sure. But as Dillian Whyte says, he's not just going to sit around and keep waiting and waiting and waiting for Alexander Povetkin, even though that would probably be the best way to do it. Why take a risk against anybody? Just wait for the Alexander Povetkin fight. Because at the end of the day, that not only just brings the revenge, which is the most important part for Dillian Whyte, but it gets him back into the mandatory position, the interim world heavyweight champion for the WBC. So therefore, he's back in line to fight the WBC full champion at some point. So that's the perfect route, but what's Dillian Whyte going to do? Well, he doesn't want to be waiting around. He wants to keep active. Dillian Whyte doesn't like sitting around. He wants to fight anybody and everybody. But with Luis Ortiz, as I said, it will create some interesting problems, or maybe not. Maybe Dillian Whyte will just bulldoze him. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen in that fight? Very, very interesting. Most hardcores would absolutely love to see that fight, for sure. Why not? But Luis Ortiz, let's be honest, I mean, it's one thing for Jay Jimenez to say, yes, that Luis Ortiz would want this fight. Luis Ortiz has a track record of turning down fights. He turned down $7 million to fight Anthony Joshua, which is why Andy Ruiz Jr. got the fight. Okay, Luis Ortiz has turned down $2 million before to fight Dillian Whyte. So what kind of price range are we talking about? What kind of money is it that Luis Ortiz is looking for to fight Dillian Whyte? Because again, it would be here in the UK, will it not? Don't get me wrong. I mean, let's not rule out the fact that Dillian Whyte could go over to America and fight Luis Ortiz. But again, there could be some other problems as well with the fact that the networks, Luis Ortiz and Jay Jimenez and the PBC, they seem to want Luis Ortiz for certain fights. I think that they're keeping him there for a eventual fight with Andy Ruiz Jr. Would they want to release him to go fight Dillian Whyte? Because if he loses to Dillian Whyte, where does Luis Ortiz go? A fight between himself and a fellow PBC fighter in Andy Ruiz Jr. suddenly loses that bit of interest, doesn't it? They don't want that, okay? They want to keep these kind of fighters fighting each other. Luis Ortiz, Deontay Wilder, Andy Ruiz Jr., and so forth. They want these guys fighting each other. They don't want them stepping across the street, as Errol Spence Jr. coined. So, again, it's going to be some problems. Potentially, at least, anyway. But we'll have to wait and see. I mean, Dillian Whyte, he's not contracted to DAZN or anything like that. So, if necessary, he could still fight on Sky Sports, but also have that fight shown on Fox or Showtime, whichever one it may be. There is that option. There is that option. But at the end of the day, Luis Ortiz is not an A-side in this one whatsoever. Okay, but hey, at the end of the day, there will be no belt on the line, as far as we're aware at least. But who knows? Who knows? But it's an interesting fight. It's one that I would like to see. I'm sure that you guys would love to see it too. It's been a long time coming, that's for sure. I know people want to say that Luis Ortiz, he was meant to fight Dillian Whyte, and Dillian Whyte said no and turned down and went and fought Joseph Parker in that instead. And the Derek Chisora rematch instead when the WBC ordered it. Yeah, but again, people do forget it was for the secondary mandatory position, not the mandatory position. People tend to leave that out of their conversation when it comes to Dillian Whyte just because They don't like Dillian Whyte. They want to go with the whole ducking scenario. There was no ducking going on. Luis Ortiz was offered up to $2 million to fight Dillian Whyte, but Luis Ortiz didn't want to do it. Anyway, that was then. This is now. Let's see if the fight happens. Drop your thoughts below. Click thumbs up, subscribe. Catch you all in the next video.